Hey everybody, before we start the show, I wanted to let you know that this podcast is brought to you by Kobold Press and Courts of the Shadow Fae. Courts of the Shadow Fae is an adventure for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons where intrigue and adventure await you in the Shadow Realm. It's a planar adventure for 7th to 10th level characters designed by Wolfgang Bauer and friend of the show, Dan Dillon. Courts of the Shadow Fae pits your heroes against the Queen of Night and Magic when she announces that the city of Zobek and its people are hers by an ancient right. To save the city, you need to confront the Shadow Fae in the heart of their own realm. I'm talking 148 pages of adventure, people, containing 100 NPCs. That's 100. A map with more than 60 locations and more than 40 combat and role-playing encounters. You have to raise your status through courtly intrigue and duels of honor to win an audience with the queen herself and free the city. Or fail and become her servants. Order Courts of the Shadow Fae for 5th edition right now at koboldpress.com. That's koboldpress.com. Tell them DSPN sent you. This is Tabletop Babble. I'm James Introcaso. Today on the show, I have assembled an amazing team of people to talk about Dungeons & Dragons in 2018, the year that just was. That's right, we're going to do a review. What were our favorite moments, favorite products, that kind of thing, all Dungeons & Dragons related. Who's on the show? I got Celeste Conowitch from Venture Maidens. I got Lysa Chen from many, many things, including the Behold Her podcast right here on this network. And I got Jeff Greiner and Sam Dillon from the Tome show. So here is my chat with them. Okay, everybody. Now I am here with 4 of my favorite people on the planet. I am so excited to chat with them about the year that was in Dungeons and Dragons. So let's go around the table. Let me know who you are and what you do in the world of tabletop role-playing games. Celeste, let's start with you.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. My name is Celeste Conowitch. You can usually find me over on the Don't Split the Podcast network, DMing and producing a show called Venture Maidens, which is an actual play D&D 5th edition podcast. You may also have heard me. I'm on the DM's Block podcast. I'm the co-host for DM Nastics over there. You can also find me streaming all over the place online, including on the Nerd Immersion live stream channel. That's a bunch of D&D. So that's me.
Awesome. Well, it is super cool to have you here, Celeste. You're always blowing my mind whenever you're on this show.
I always love being here.
Yeah, so it is great to have you. And Lysa, how about you? Who are you and what do you do in the world of tabletop role-playing games?
My name is Lysa Chen. I am the community manager for the D&D Adventurers League, D&D's official play campaign, as well as the Dungeon Masters Guild, where folks can publish D&D 5th edition works. I am also part of Don't Split the Podcast network as the producer and host of Behold Her, which is a podcast about women in the world of tabletop RPGs. You can also find me Friday nights on the D&D Twitch. I am the showrunner and a cast member of their Ravenloft series, Tales from the Mists.
Ooh, that is awesome. So much coolness going on there, Lysa. Really, really great. Always awesome to have you here as well. And now, of course, you and Celeste are running DSPN West Coast HQ.
We're here for you. Yes.
Seattle headquarters.
Exactly. And Jeff Greiner is here with us. Jeff, who are you and what do you do in the world of tabletop role-playing games?
I am the creator and founder of the Tome Show podcast, the longest running D&D podcast on the internet, which is not on the Don't Split the Podcast network. But I'd like to think that I'm most famous for discovering the great James Introcaso and made DSPN possible. So you're welcome, world.
I mean, it's certainly true that you did those things, though I think you are most famous for discovering our next guest. Sam, who are you and what do you do in the world of tabletop role-playing games?
I'm Sam Dillon, and I run a little website called RPG Musings, which has been quiet for a little while, but 2019 2019 is the year that it's coming back. I also work with Jeff on the Tome show and have co-hosted many episodes and edit all of those episodes. And I am a huge RPG player and fan, and I love D&D and I love RPGs and I love all of you guys. And I'm so excited to be on this podcast tonight.
Yes, me too. And I'm so excited to have you here, Sam. One of the smartest and best critical thinkers that I know. So it is super awesome to have you here as we talk about the year that was in the world of Dungeons and Dragons 2018. So we're going to do a look back on Dungeons and Dragons and sort of talk about the things that were happening and where we think things are going in 2019. Some people, Lysa, may have some inside baseball knowledge, so we will obviously recuse yourself if you're under NDA and all that kind of thing.
My lips are sealed.
But yeah, let's get back to it. Let's look back first. So 2018, we had a lot of cool D&D products come out this year. We had the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. We had Waterdeep Dragon Heist. We had Dungeon of the Mad Mage. We, before all of that, had Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes came out, or Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, depending on who you ask. And all sorts of other baubles and bobs came out as well. And then there were all kinds of great third-party products. Kobold Press, I can't even keep up with how much stuff they're putting out, as well as many other great things. So what is your favorite D&D product of 2018? And Celeste, let's start with you.
Ooh, this one was so tricky when I saw this question because, like you said, so much great stuff came out this year. It was just such a great year for D&D in general. But I would have to say, I just absolutely loved Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage, and privileged some of the writers are here in this very chat who helped contribute to that. But I absolutely love dungeons. And what I thought was really cool about this book is because it goes from levels 5 to 20, it's just setting up so many great encounters, scenarios, rooms, dungeons. Basically, there's just so much material in this book that can be taken out and used in any games, even if you're not running the module itself. So I was absolutely just stunned and in love with all of the different themes and stories and so much content packed into one book. It's my absolute favorite. I'm still rereading it over and over again, just discovering new things every time. So that was definitely my favorite product this year.
That book is bursting at the seams, and I do love how modular it is. It is really great, a great one to use. How about you, Lysa? What was your favorite D&D product of 2018?
While I do have a bias for Dungeon of the Mad Mage, and I'm so happy that someone else mentioned it, I'd say probably my favorite book that they released is actually Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, which I wasn't expecting. As someone who plays Dungeons and Dragons a lot and is really bad at playing Magic, I was resistant to Wizards of the Coast's Other Child getting all up in my D&D. But Ravnica is actually a really cool world, and the character options in that book are choice. So I did find myself falling for that. I'd say my favorite non-book product released officially by D&D would actually be the map packs that were released with Dungeon of the Mad Mage. As a dungeon master, not having to flip between pages of where your party is and where the map is in the book is amazing. Plus, they're dry erase and you can mark them up. When I moved to Seattle, I gifted a set to the dungeon master who would be running Dungeons of the Mad Mage in my place. And he was just so thrilled. It's so useful.
Yeah, it is. I too was like, oh wow, this thing is awesome. I love to hear your take on stuff, Lysa, because I know you're devouring things with ferocity when they come out, and often before many of us. How about you, Jeff? What are you thinking? You've got a critical eye. You look at this stuff for your own podcast. What was your favorite product of 2018?
I thought about this one a lot, and I really just came up with one thing that just knocked it out of the park for me. And then as I sit here and think about it, I keep adding things to my list. So if we're talking about hardcover book, my favorite thing that came out, and we're hitting all the new hotness now, is Dragon Heist. I'm not intentionally trying to butter up certain people in the chat who helped write it, But honestly, Dragon Heist was designed and organized in such an innovative way that it really excites me more than, like, I think the last time I was this excited about a D&D adventure was Curse of Strahd. And so now I'm trying to figure out how to do I do both. And I think I'm going to have the Mist come in and take the entire tavern from Dragon Heist away into Barovia.
Yes.
I want to see what crawls out of the yawning portal in Barovia.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Yeah. But then I got thinking about it and it's like, well, but there's all other things too, because you mentioned third-party publishers, and I'm like, well, the Creature Codex from Kobold Press was really good. I don't know if it was as good as Tome of Beasts, but really it's maybe as good, and it's just more of that, right? And then that made me think, oh, PDFs, but the Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron was fantastic as well, and that's doing some neat and innovative things. And while it's not new for 2018, it was new to me. I started using D&D Beyond in 2018 and found it to be just phenomenal in terms of helping me run my game. So I cheated. I did 4 things.
Hey, more things is always better. So how about you, Sam? What were your favorite D&D products of 2018?
Jeff mentioned Dragon Heist, which was my favorite WotC hardback produced, so I won't say anything else about that. So I will go to my second favorite thing, which was a large book called Strongholds and Followers, which was produced by Matthew Colville and kickstarted. And I don't have the hardback yet, but I do have the PDF, and it is right up my alley. It is really good. It's well produced. It has lots of things in it that are missing from the current edition that really take me back to how we used to play the higher levels when I first started in D&D many moons ago. So there's that. But there's a second product that I want to bring up because, everybody else said more than one. So there was a product also kickstarted by Scott Fitzgerald Gray called The Hidden Halls of Hazakor, which was a little product of a little dungeon adventure with a little small town location that was written specifically to support new DMs and new players. And it's really well done. And I just want to give a shout out to that because it's also something missing from the current edition of D&D. I think not entirely missing, but missing in terms of a lot of official support. So it's really good to see some former WotC employees and a lot of freelancers step up and do things to get the sort of younger audience and newer players into the game. So
yeah, definitely, right. That's the life of the game. Continuing on, the more new people we can get in.
It's the same reason why I'm in love with streaming and podcasts and all that stuff too, because of the propensity for it to bring new people into the game and let them see how enjoyable this hobby is, and then they get into it and it's awesome.
Yeah, it totally is awesome, and it's totally great to see more and more people getting into it, which brings me to our next question, right? Favorite moments in D&D in 2018. I feel like there was a lot of awesome stuff happening. Either, you could think about big events that happened, like the Stream of Many Eyes, or you could even think about sort of cultural shifts and movements that took time and maybe solidified in 2018, or we started to really take note of in 2018. Sam, do you want to talk about your favorite moments?
Oh, I've been thinking about this question all week, and I don't have one because there is so much going on. And I feel like every time something new would happen last year, or every time something really interesting would happen, say on Critical Role or on Venture Maidens, which I'm a huge fan of, I would always feel like, oh my God, that was the most awesome thing. And then like the next thing would happen next month, and I would say, oh my God, that was the most awesome thing. So I honestly could not pinpoint one or two items. So I'm going to totally cheat and I'm going to blanket this. And I'm just going to say that I feel like the game being still a top seller on Amazon many years after release and bringing in so many new sort of talents into this streaming realm and bringing in so many different I don't want to say new populations, because I know women have been playing D&D for 40 years, and I know LGBTQ people have been playing D&D, and people of color have been playing D&D. But it's much more visible now, and I am totally in love with that and embracing it, and I hope it continues.
Yeah, that is a great thing. And it's proof that like this crazy strategy of, less releases, more time to focus on quality and less, splat books to bloat up the game is really working, right?
Yep. But also they leave room for third party producers and designers to come in and do awesome stuff.
Yeah, that is huge. How about you, Celeste? Favorite moments of 2018?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, running an actual play podcast, I feel like this was a huge year for us and for the actual play podcast community. Just, I mean, so many amazing projects happened this year, like the podcast of events. I mean, this year we had 3. We had Podcast of Foes, Podcast of Waterdeep, and Podcast of Ravnica, which is, a bunch of these actual play podcasts coming together to help promote these new books and source materials. And I mean, Podcast of Waterdeep was just incredible. All these shows got together and we got to bring in guests, not only from other shows, but also people in the D&D community. I mean, having like Satine Phoenix involved in this project and amazing people. We got Christina Ariel on our show and just working together to create this promotion for this new book. That was just so powerful and wonderful this year, seeing Wizards, kind of embrace and give us support for the actual play community. That was just so incredible. And I absolutely loved being a part of it and got to meet so many people and just, that really big step of encouragement and that podcast community involvement was huge and definitely my favorite moment for 2018.
Yeah, that was huge and beautiful and amazing to see. And thank you, because you played no small part in making all of that happen. So it was really great to see the podcast community come together and put together some awesome content and support each other in a really great way. So I hope to really see more of that. Obviously, as podcasters, the more light that gets shined on us, the better, right? Think we can all agree.
Absolutely. And I think it all feeds back into each other. I think we gave people a really cool look at the books, and I think we encouraged a lot of people to go and buy those official modules. So it was a really cool thing to be a part of.
And can I just add to that when you have a stream like that and you've got this combination of obviously you've got Wizard of the Coast employees who are marketing people and are trying to present new products in the best light, but then you've got fans and people who are going to use these products and people who love the game that are also there participating. I mean, that is like the most intelligent marketing scheme ever, because it's not trying to sell somebody something that they might not need. It's trying to show how much these products are awesome and loved, and it makes people want to buy them in a different way than Burger King trying to sell us a Whopper. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's so true. The love for this stuff is authentic, and that means a ton. Speaking of being involved in the podcasts of Waterdeep, Lysa Chen, how about you? What were some of your favorite moments of 2018?
Yeah, I'm going to do more than one.
Do it.
First, I think seeing Joe Manganiello on Stephen Colbert's show was really cool. Just seeing that, like, they basically spent the whole interview on this huge mainstream show just chatting about Dungeons and Dragons and nerding out. There's still work to do getting D&D out there because the audience did not react enthusiastically enough to the description of Joe's gaming room. But even just seeing D&D on that sort of stage was, I think, really cool and really encouraging to a lot of D&D fans. I'd say my other moment is more of a cultural shift and not necessarily something new to 2018. But I felt like the visible diversity of people in the D&D community was just, again, elevated even more, especially by the official D&D Twitch. You saw Rivals of Waterdeep, Hell's Bells, which was a show I was on that had all women and non-binary individuals. And something that meant a lot to me, which starts with a yucky moment of D&D in 2018, was that Hell's Bells, I believe, was the first show on the D&D Twitch that introduced all of us with our pronouns, since we didn't want our non-binary individuals to feel weird, like they were the only ones calling out their pronouns. And we got such there's no nice way to say it. We got sort of like a negative, gross reaction in the YouTube comments, which wasn't awesome. What was awesome, though, was seeing like on Twitter, the hashtag D&D community and the other people in the D&D streaming community really rally around and support the Hellsbells. And so you had Rivals of Waterdeep starting to introduce their pronouns. I know on your Encounter Roleplay talk show, James, you also now start out introducing people with pronouns. And I know that meant so much, especially to the non-binary community in D&D. And so just seeing the community rally around that and just be like, yeah, this is normal. We'll just integrate it. That was a really cool moment for me in Dungeons & Dragons.
Yeah. The number of moments that have been bad that have managed to turn into something good in 2018 is pretty cool as well. I can think of lots of things like that. And don't be a jerk. Let me just throw that out there. Don't be a jerk to people. Jeff, how about you? What were some of your favorite moments in 2018 in D&D?
So I narrowed it down to two, and one of them is a more of a personal hooray, and that is that early in 2018, the Tome Show published episode 300. And that's not including all of our unnumbered episodes. So in total, we're probably closer to 400 or 500 if you include all the other things we put out that aren't in those numbers. So we put out a lot of episodes, and I'm really happy and proud that we got episode 300 out this year. And so more related to some of the things that other people have said in terms of the streaming and the podcasting and the community, having put out so many episodes of the show, and I've been podcasting about D&D for so long, I've had a tendency to also focus more on the industry than people oftentimes do, and how the industry reacts to the community. And so when I look at the way WotC has embraced the community, whether it be through streaming or podcasts or their presence on Twitter or whatever, it's really encouraging to see that. Like, you don't hear a lot of the complaints about how Wizards of the Coast doesn't really know what it's like in everybody's game table. They're up in their ivory tower. They're out of touch. They're these big corporate stooges, whatever. Like, that was the narrative about Wizards of the Coast for a decade or more. And I don't hear that conversation anymore. And I can only imagine that change has made it even more fun than it probably ever has been to work on the D&D brand at Wizards of the Coast. And I think that joy continues to cycle and come back through it, both with their interactions with the fans and in their work. And so it just sort of continues this sort of positive cycle and feedback loop between Wizards of the Coast and the community, and they're just constantly building each other up. And I think that has been a fantastic thing that I've observed in 2018.
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah. That's awesome. First, congratulations on 300 Tome Show episodes, plus many, many other Tome Show episodes. So that is awesome and incredible, and something you should be super proud of. And also, man, you are so correct about the community and Wizards of the Coast building each other up in a great way. And I'm happy to see more of that and hope that that continues in 2019. Which brings me to the next question, right? D&D got even bigger in 2018 and had one of its best years ever, maybe the best ever for Dungeons and Dragons. So going into 2019, what do you think they need to do to continue the trend? And why don't we start with you on this one, Jeff?
Okay, so, well, I mean, I think number one is continue that embracing of the fans and in the community. I'd hate for somebody to, a new CEO or whatever to come along and change policy, and all of a sudden that has to go away, because you've seen stuff like that from Wizards sort of leadership in the past, and it's sort of squashed that kind of thing. And I hope that continues. Beyond that, I want to see an increase in the variety of offerings in terms of official products. I don't want to see an increase in the number of releases. I think we've sort of hit the max in terms of number of, because it has slowly creeped up, and I'm starting to feel a little bit of the power creep in the game already, even though it's still fairly early in the edition. I don't want another big book of player options and that kind of stuff, but a more variety in terms of stories and locations and all kinds of things. Like there's all kinds of creative areas that the game could go in terms of the stories that they're telling, and I really hope to see that come out.
Yeah, I think it's very cool to see the way things evolve from year to year. How about you, Sam? What do you think D&D needs to do in 2019?
They need to keep doing the same basic thing. When I sort of cast around and I ask people for their opinions, I see lots of things that people want that I feel like have proven to be not very good business decisions. Things like I want them to put out more smaller adventures. I don't want them to keep putting out, I'm not saying me, but I'm saying this is what I hear. I don't want them to keep putting out these 200-page books with these adventures that take a year to run. And I disagree with that. As much as me personally, I would love a few 30 to 60-page adventures versus a few 200-page adventures. But I feel like the business model for 5th edition Wizards of the Coast has really managed it very well. They don't produce too much. They left a lot of things open so that there can be third-party designers and creators that are adding to the game in a way that makes it relevant when necessary. So I feel like they need to just sort of stay strong and stick with what is working. And I'm not saying they shouldn't do anything new, because I think it's really good to sort of step outside of the box occasionally. But I feel like their release schedule is pretty solid. I feel like they are supporting, third parties really well. They're supporting the streams. They're supporting more minority interaction and influence in the gaming world. And I think they need to keep all those things up. I'm not sure that I am qualified to say that they need to change something, is really what I'm saying. I don't think that, I think that none of the products have been a flop. So it kind of is presumptuous from my perspective for me to say, well, they need to do things differently, because I think what they're doing is basically working. And all they need to do is tweak things. But I think they'll be okay if they continue to follow their, obviously the leadership team has a vision and it's working pretty well. So unless there is some kind of a downturn that is unexpected coming toward us, then I'm going to tell you they don't really need to change very much.
Although, can I respond?
Sure.
So I think you're absolutely right, but at the same time, I would caution against the idea of just keep doing what you're doing, right? One of the things that they've been doing that's made them successful is they continue to push and innovate. So I think they do need to change things.
Yeah, but in baby steps, right?
Yeah, I think they do need to change things, but they need to change things the way they've been doing it, and we're not qualified to tell them how to do that. So I agree.
Right. That's my personal opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think baby steps for change are good, and I think obviously if what you're doing is working, I think they have a lot of the community's trust now too, right? That they're going to do it right, which is a good thing, because that goes back to what Jeff was saying. I think years ago, maybe they didn't have all of the community's trust the way that they have a lot more of it now. That's a huge, huge thing.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Tabletop Babble coming up.
Hey there, listeners, it's Shane.
And Ishan, your hosts from the Total Party Thrill podcast, the newest addition to the Don't Split the Podcast network.
We talk topics that help you, dear listener, create and play better RPG games.
We have a back catalog of more than 150 weekly episodes.
And we got nominated for an Emmy for episode 11, Social Contracts.
In episode 154, we talked about crossing the moral event horizon. How evil is too evil?
We also recap our home games, like the 40k Rogue Trader campaign, Dynasty Unwarranted.
But that's mainly just you trying to kill us all. In your defense, our characters are greedy idiots.
Don't forget the 3 years we spent in Eberron playing Morning Glory, your 5th edition D&D campaign.
We also review new RPGs and books, and every episode we build a 5th edition D&D character in the Character Creation Forge.
You might check out the Pint-Sized Punisher from episode 119, a halfling with a bad attitude, and 14 levels of Barbarian.
So to recap, Total Party Thrill. RPG advice, campaign recaps, and D&D characters built by your dashing hosts every single week.
What more could you possibly want?
To get back to the actual show?
Oh yeah, let me just hit this button, and here you go.
All right, back to the show.
Celeste, what about you? What do you want to see them do in 2019 that you think will help grow D&D even more?
Well, I hate to sound like a broken record here, but I would love to see more support for the actual play podcasts out there. I would absolutely love to see somebody, be a liaison on the Wizards team to these actual play podcasts. Like, while the podcasts of events went really well and they were great, it was really us in the actual play community who pushed that and organized that and got that all together. And so if we could see some more support from Wizards for those, or some initiative on projects like that, I think that would be an amazing thing to have. Like, Wizards has just blown up with their streams and their schedules and all these awesome shows they're putting out in that media. And I think the same could be done for podcasts. I mean, of course, you have your dungeon delves and, your table talk, but I think there's just so much room to bring on all of these actual play folks who are so passionate and are just getting these huge communities of fans and people involved in the hobby. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have decided to start playing Dungeons and Dragons because they've listened to Venture Maidens, or they've listened to, the Adventure Zone or other podcasts like that. So I would love to see more of an embracing of the actual play podcast community, and just more cool projects, way to get them involved. I think that would be a really positive step for Wizards, and I think would yield some pretty great results.
I will help you beat that drum for sure. I think that is huge. And let me add on behalf of myself and Jeff and Sam, if you also support those podcasts that are, not doing actual plays too. There's those informational review interview type advice.
I did not mean to exclude you at all.
Come listen to the World Tree Burns actual play podcast at the Tome Show.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, like Beholder. So speaking of great podcasts, the Beholder podcast, hosted by Lysa Chen. Lysa, talk to me a little bit about what you would like to see Wizards do to help grow the audience in 2019.
I would say, and I guess I'll speak from a community management perspective, since that is sort of my thing. I'd love to see Dungeons and Dragons social media be more engaging and interactive with the community, and not they're really good at doing that on Twitch. A lot of their shows, especially their informational news shows, will interact with the chat a lot, which is really cool. But I'd love to see their Facebook and their Twitter pages, which have these really huge followings, be less of just broadcasting news mostly about the Twitch and products, and be more engaging with the community, start conversations, have conversations. That would be really cool. And then in terms of engaging with the community even more, I'm excited to see how they're going to evolve whatever this year's stream is. Presumably they're going to have one, because it's kind of changed each year, and more the community gets to be involved. So with Stream of Many Eyes, people could actually go and check out Waterdeep that they built and sit in on some of the shows. I'd love if this year's stream was somehow even more open to the community, something that people could experience more. And then not a 2019 thing, but down the road, if there's one day just like a Dungeons and Dragons convention, that would be amazing to see.
There has been in the past.
Yeah, come back.
Definitely come back. Along these lines, what products do you want to see in 2019? And now I'm just going to throw this out there. These can be either from Wizards of the Coast or from a third party. They can be a dream product. They can be, because I know we've got people, we've got a zillion NDAs here at the moment. We've got play testers. We've got people who are just in the know because they're in Adventurers League, or maybe they're planning another podcast of, and that's not to say there is another podcast of, I don't know anything about that. I'm just saying that there are people who may know stuff because of whatever. Right? So I'm sort of opening the floor on this. What sort of products would you like to see in 2019, either from Wizards of the Coast or community creators or third-party publishers, accessories that, Elderwood Academy is going to make, anything like that? It's all on the table. So, Lysa, why don't we start with you on this one?
Yeah, this is something I've actually been giving a lot of thought over the past couple weeks, and I'll speak to what I'd like to see on Dungeon Masters Guild. So, folks who are listening, if you don't know what Dungeon Masters Guild is, it is dmsguild.com. You can go there and you're able to publish your own D&D 5e content, and you can use some of Wizards' IP. So you can set it in the Forgotten Realms, have Elminster in it. All the rules are on there. But as I've been delving more and more into the Dungeon Masters Guild community as their community manager, I've noticed that a lot of our authors are white men. And there aren't as many women who are publishing, people of color involved in the Dungeon Masters Guild community, which is vibrant and flourishing and so supportive of each other. I would love to see more different groups of people band together and collaborate and publish and realize that that is a resource for them to share their D&D creations. One project that is coming out this year that I'm so excited about is headed by Ashley Warren, who is this amazing D&D creator, one of the Dungeon Masters Guild adepts, and she is organizing a project called Uncaged, which is about female characters in mythology and kind of turning your ideas of them on their head. And a lot of the creators involved in that do happen to be women or non-binary individuals, writers, artists. So excited about that collaboration, something super different. And I would love to see more of that on Dungeon Masters Guild.
Yeah, definitely. Ashley is brilliant. That is going to be amazing. And it really is a great and welcoming place. It would be awesome to see more creators there, especially more creators who aren't straight white cis dudes like me.
Yeah, who, not to say that those dudes aren't amazing human beings and creators. Their Dungeon Masters Guild doesn't have a lot of the barriers that other means to publication have. If there's ways for me to knock down any barriers that other people perceive are there, definitely get in touch with me and let me know. But I just feel like there's so much opportunity there.
Yeah, and I feel like the novel Children of Blood and Bone was like a blew up sort of this year, right? And I think that really proves that there is space for alternative takes on fantasy. Like I would love to see a DM's Guild take on an Afrocentric fantasy setting or whatever, like that novel depicted. I think there's a great potential there. That's a really good point, Lisa.
Oh my God, yes, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And for good reason, none of us white dude creators want to touch that because that's not our story to tell, right? Sam, talk to me a little bit about what you want to see in 2019.
Dream product would be an Amonkhet book like the Ravnica book. I love Amonkhet, and I'm not a Magic the Gathering person, but I have a bunch of Amonkhet cards, and I turned them into little tokens for my game, and I have the art book, and I just love that setting. I have the little conversion guide thing that they released in PDF, and it's just I would love them to give the Ravnica treatment to. Of course, it would be different because it's not all the same world, but it would be so. That's my dream product. I don't think it's going to happen, but that would be if I was all powerful and could tell them here are the 3 products I want you to do. That would be the top of my list. Second would be Jeff already kind of mentioned, and Nathan Stewart and Kate Welch kind of mentioned that maybe there are some other things in the work later this year or early next year regarding some different areas of the Forgotten Realms with a different cultural basis. And hopefully those products will be really well done. And as James said, not to put too fine a point on it, but cis white guys can create great products, but it's also true that they're not going to create the same product about Asian history as an Asian person, or a great product about African, with an African theme as someone who has a vast amount of knowledge in their own cultural background. So anyway, I'll get off that high horse. But my third wish would be that they actually step away from Forgotten Realms altogether for a major product. And I know that they did the Eberron Wayfinders thing, and I know they've done some of that. But I would like them to really do a different place. And every time I say this, everybody says, "Oh, well, Barovia and Ravenloft, that was so different." Yeah, okay, whatever. I mean, someplace really different, like Dark Sun, but really do it. Like, give me a 300-page book for that. Give me a 300-page book that really is a setting that doesn't assume anything about Forgotten Realms. You don't have to go into some weird mist to take you to this place. You don't have to go into some weird portal. You're just, here's a different setting. There it is. Boom. That would be a dream thing of mine. So
you get away from my Miss. Miss is great. More Ravenloft.
No, I'm not. It's great. They did a wonderful job with Curse of Strahd. It's totally awesome. But I want something different.
Fair enough. Dark Sun, a few more steps. Yeah.
Or forget I even said Dark Sun. Like, I don't even care if it's Athos. I just used that as an example. Give me something we've never seen before.
Ooh.
Like, it's not even that I want Dark Sun. It's that I want something totally, completely separate from what they've done before. That's what I want. That's the only thing I think they could change about 5th edition, is that there feels like a lot of retread. And while some of that retread is really fantastic and some of it is totally over the top and wonderful, I want something new.
Yeah, that's one of the things I really loved about the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, right? It was like, oh man, this is new for D&D. And so that was cool. What I'd love for the next step to be, here's something new, period. End of sentence, right? How about you, Jeff? What products are you looking forward to?
So I've got a little list, and some of it is related to what Sam was saying in terms of being able to sort of expand out from the Forgotten Realms. And I'm going to say that with a caveat, because one of the things that I want to see this year is a Forgotten Realms campaign guide that would then encourage people to tell their own stories and create their own campaigns in the setting, because it's supposed to be a shared world, but they haven't been great at sharing it. With 5th edition. So I'd love to see the one sort of campaign guide product come out, and then, but no more adventures, right? We've got the adventure support for Forgotten Realms. Give people the campaign guide so they can keep telling their own stories in other parts of the world that have not been supported yet. Then I want to see a setting that carries us from world to world to world. And my primary goal there or desire there would be with Planescape. I think Planescape is a great setting, and then makes it really easy for future adventures to just be in any random setting that they want to put it in, because that opens the gates, the sometimes literal gates, into all these different places, right? And I've had a running sort of prediction that they've been building up to an adventure that is an homage to the old Planescape adventure, The Great Modron March, because literally every adventure they've published features just a little cameo from a Modron. And they've even alluded to some of them being lost, having been on the Great Modron March. So I think they've been seeding that possibility. We'll see. I don't have any insider knowledge. The last NDA thing that I looked at has already been published, so I don't have any knowledge on this. If no Planescape, they also seem to have this weird nostalgic quirky interest in Spelljammer, and I don't hate Spelljammer either. I would be pretty happy with Spelljammer as well. And then the only other thing in terms of product that I think would be really cool, and I don't think there's any chance of this happening, once upon a time, back in the paper Dungeon and Dragon magazine days, they had this big crossover story path that eventually became like the idea for Paizo's story paths or adventure paths they did and still do. And it was this Githyanki invasion, Githyanki sort of come through these rifts into the world, riding on the backs of red dragons, and it could incorporate mind flayers, and it could incorporate Githzerai, because they're all sort of tied up in that whole area. And then it would give them an excuse to say, oh, and here's our 5th edition psionic rules, which would be interesting and fun to have as well. So I think that would be the other product piece I would have. Whatever they do, I hope that their adventures continue to build off of all the experiments in terms of the design of the adventures. I feel like every single adventure they've put out, they've sort of tried a different way of designing adventures. And I feel like, okay, you've done a lot of experiments, and some of them have worked really well. Let's build on that instead of continuously starting over and trying completely new things as they publish new products. So because Dragon Heist was phenomenally put together, right? But I felt like the design on Storm King's Thunder was less phenomenal. Like, it was trying to do some similar things, but it just didn't come together for me. So I'd say figure out what worked well and build on those. And so I'd like to see some adventures that look like they were designed in the same format as the previous ones, just tweaked a little bit, you know? There's my wish list.
I love it. And Celeste, how about you? What's your wish list?
Oh man, I mean, you guys covered so much good stuff. Immediately, I was like settings. I'm like, yeah, give me my Spelljammer, give me my Hollow World. You know, these old throwbacks that I'm just obsessed with. Hollow World, I absolutely adore AD&D, and I collect all of these old books, and I'm just like, oh, if only. But there are some great things happening out there. Lots of people converting these great adventures. But yeah, getting something in a different setting would be absolutely amazing. The other thing I would like to see is a really, really great epic adventure. Like a 15 to 20 or just like an insane story just for higher level characters. I feel like we're all getting to that point where our characters have, we are breaching that level, and it's really sad, when you hit end of Horde of the Dragon Queen and you're level 15 and you're like, oh man, what do we do with these characters? It would be cool, one last hurrah in the Sword Coast, for those final levels. I think would be a really cool thing to see. Since it's so hard already to run epic level games, getting something official out there I think would be really cool to see.
Yeah, that's always been my dream DM's Guild product that I want to write is there's two things I want to make is the continuation of all of the adventures, right? Like where, going into Avernus to kill Tiamat, finding out what the heck Lolth was doing and why wasn't she sucked into the Underdark along with the other demon lords, all that kind of stuff. And then the other one I want to write is what happens if the players lose and the world you can play in after
That'd be
that.
so good.
Yeah. This is someday in infinite free time.
James, when you and I are at the old folks' home, we'll be writing that thing.
Yeah, honestly, my dream product for 2019 is to someone to create a retirement home I can sign up for where I'm playing role-playing games.
Yeah.
It's such a solid investment, and I'm like, should I do this? I know nothing about real estate. So if anybody else does, make it happen. I'll pay for it. My spot. So, real quick, before we go, I want to just go around the table, let everybody know, what is your 2019 RPG resolution or goals or what have you? And let's start with you, Jeff. What are your 2019 resolutions?
So I put together 4 here. I am anticipating hopefully getting a new job and moving this year, at which point I have the daunting task of finding a new gaming group if or when that hopefully happens. So I hope that goes well. I also have a whole campaign concept for a Torg campaign. I've been really enjoying playing Torg Eternity. I know we've been talking D&D, but that's another game system I've been really loving lately. And I've mapped out this whole campaign. I'm not sure that I'm ever going to have a chance to run it, so I'd like to do something with that. I think this year I'm going to, as I've been working on a PhD, so I've been very busy, and I'm working on my dissertation this year. So I'm extra busy with that, but I'm going to finish that. And so I'm hoping that this is the year I'm able to maybe publish a thing or two again, and give back to the community in that way. And then finally, my last resolution is, I think I want to learn how to step back and let other people run games every now and then, instead of me always being the DM. So those are my goals.
Well, good luck, certainly, and congratulations on finishing up your PhD. That is huge. How about you, Celeste? What goals or resolutions do you have?
Yeah, so this is going to be year 3, well, almost year 3 for Venture Maidens. So just continuing, of course, to grow that community. We have an amazing group of listeners who really get involved, and Patreon supporters. So continuing to grow that community and be there and help keep inspiring new folks to come to the table is, of course, a goal. But my big goal, 2019 is the year I publish, and it's going to happen, I swear. So I want to get in there. I want to get in that DM's Guild world. I want to make it happen. So this is the year for that. So expect to see things from me.
Excellent.
In that realm.
Excellent. Well, I am sure that You will have great encouragement from Lysa Chen.
I hope so.
for doing just that. And you certainly have my vote of confidence, and my tweets are yours whenever you publish.
Thanks.
I can't wait to spread the word. And my dice. And my
pen.
Dice. That's right. Lysa, how about you? What are your goals or resolutions for 2019?
So 2017 and 2018 saw me doing a lot of writing, streaming, community managing, hosting with Adventurers Wanted, podcasting with Behold Her. So for 2019, one of my big goals is trying to, I guess my key word for 2019 would be focus. I'm trying to figure out, of all of those things, what do I really want to focus on for 2019? And I'm leaning towards focusing more on boosting other people's voices in our community. So getting back into Behold Her, Greg Tito mentioned on D&D News this week, so he spoiled it first, but I'm chatting with him about another talk show about the D&D community, and really focusing on just getting other people out there and empowering them.
It's great to hear that you're looking at like, what's next? How do I focus? That kind of thing. And, one thing that everyone on this podcast should do is also make a resolution to like rest points and focus on yourself and do a little self-care.
What's work-life balance?
Don't forget to do that, everyone. Sam, what are your 2019 goals for role-playing games?
Well, so right now I run a Star Wars Edge of the Empire game. I want to finish that up. I've started running a Force and Destiny one-on-one game, so one GM, one player with a Padawan Jedi who's going on a particular journey. I want to write that up and release it for free. It's just on my website, which is actually my second my second resolution is to get my website back going. I was really invested in the community in the 4th edition days, and I really did a lot of blogging, and I did a lot of podcasting. I did a lot of different things, and I've fallen away from that for the last couple of years, just from various different life events and generally getting busy, and so I really want to sort of get back into that and start really interacting with the community more. And the first step of that is starting to post regularly on my blog again. That's sort of a major thing for me. The second other thing I want to do is I also think that this will be the year I publish something. Here's the thing: is the reason I say something, as in it's a singular item, is because I don't know what it is yet, and I need to sort of figure that out. But it's a serious endeavor that requires a lot of thought. And I'm not married to it just being a me thing. I would love to collaborate with people. So I've got my fingers in the air, and I'm sort of figuring out what I'm doing. And so that's the goal. My group part of my group moved away, so I need to get a D&D group again. And start running D&D again, because I haven't done that for a couple months now, and it's really hurting.
Good goals, definitely. Can't wait to see what you publish as well, Sam. And I really can't wait to check out that Force and Destiny game that you're talking about. One player, one GM. They're excellent. They're really, really excellent. You all are great people and amazing friends. This was a great chat. Thank you for talking with me. Real quick, let's go around the table, let people know where they can find you. Celeste, where can people find you?
Yeah, so again, my name is Celeste Conowitch. You can find me on Twitter at @CConowitch, or of course, if you want to hear more of my voice, check out the Venture Maidens podcast, which you can find on iTunes or anywhere podcasts are free. And then also check me out on DM's Block, which you can also find in the podcast world.
Excellent. And where can people find you, Lysa Chen?
I've been Lysa Chen. You can find me on Twitter at MercifulDM, MERCYFULDM, or find all of the D&D and various things that I do, including Behold Her podcast, at LysaChen.com. Lysa also spelled with a Y. Over the next couple months, you can find me every Friday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time on twitch.tv/D&D, playing in Tales from the Mist, D&D's Ravenloft series.
And where can people find you, Jeff Greiner?
You can find me on Twitter. I am at Squatch. That's SQUACH. You can also hear my soothing tones over at thetomeshow.com for our various podcasts that we release there. And I recommend everybody go check out The Venture Maidens because it's a fantastic podcast.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. And Sam, where can people find you?
You can find me over at my website, rpgmusings.com. Or you can find me on the Tome Show over there, and I am on Twitter at DM Samuel.
Wow, that was a great podcast. People, just so you know, Tabletop Babble needs your help growing. Head on over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review. Even if you are not using iTunes to listen to the show, odds are your podcatcher app uses iTunes algorithms to rate and recommend podcasts to others. Creating an account is free. We will super appreciate it, and so will all of the other podcasts you rate and love. And if you leave me a 5-star review, I'll read it out loud verbatim. But even if it's not a 5-star review, go leave it, because I love some feedback. Also, you should totally check out the Demon Plague if you want to hear more of my voice. Why? I am the Dungeon Master on that 5th edition actual play podcast, and I have a great crew. I'm playing with Rudy Basso, I'm playing with TK Johnson, I'm playing with Lauren Urban, and I'm playing with Robert Aducci. We've also got some great guest stars lined up. Go over to don'tsplitthepodcastnetwork.com or wherever you find podcasts. Search for The Demon Plague, and you are going to get some awesome story right to your ears based on an adventure I wrote that is also out that you can buy called The Demon Plague. Check that out too. All right, people, you can find me on Twitter at James Introcaso. And don't forget to check out my game design work at worldbuilderblog.com. Tabletop Babble is a show on the Don't Split the Podcast Network. Thanks to Rudy Basso for founding it with me. Our theme music, which you're listening to right now, was provided by Battle Bards. Don't forget, RPGs are like sex. Hey everybody, James Introcaso. Thanks for listening to this episode of Tabletop Babble. One thing I wanted to remind you is that our sponsor for this episode was Cobalt Press. Cobalt Press is an amazing third-party publisher who makes awesome products, and they put a ton of heart and work into them. They play test, they edit, they publish. I know because I've worked for them, and I know many other people who have. These are true pros. And Courts of the Shadow Fae, which you heard me talk about at the beginning of this podcast, is one of the coolest things ever. It's a really awesome adventure. It's 148 pages, and it's got all kinds of stuff that you can mine and use even if you're not playing through the adventure as written. It's got over 100 NPCs. It's got an awesome map with over 60 locations, and it's got 40 combat and role-playing game encounters. It's an awesome adventure that your players can tackle in almost any way they choose. The stakes are high. The setting is intimate. You should definitely go check it out at koboldpress.com. Search for Courts of the Shadow Fae. Go check it out. koboldpress.com.